Well, it's the last Friday of the month, so it's my Feel Good Friday guest day. So, as I always introduce my guests in the blind date style, it's what's your name and where'd you come from?
Carole, happy Friday.
Lovely to see you.
So my name is Neil. You know my name. My name's Neil Lewis, and I am the empathy coach.
And we met during lockdown, didn't
we? We met during lockdown, 3 years ago, something like that. It wasn't that long ago that we actually got in a room together, was it? Really?
We've only met in person. It's the third time today.
Third time today, yeah. But obviously spoken many times on the phone, yes. And had lots of nice interactions.
And I feel like I've known you for years.
I know, it's a weird one, isn't it? It really is.
And so it's the empathy coach, which is your business. And you've just celebrated an anniversary, I believe, this week.
Well, kind of, yeah. The official birthday of the empathy coach isn't for another month or two, but it was 3 years ago this week that the germ of the idea started to form in my mind at the beginning of lockdown. I'm sure we're all kind of looking back and thinking, wow, 3 years ago this week we were all heading into that lockdown, and I, like a lot of people, found myself at a bit of a crossroads. Sort of not much work on. The business that I was working with had furloughed a lot of their staff, and understandably, when you're going into that sort of protective measures, let go of a lot of contractors. I was a contractor at the time, and it was a moment of kind of, oh, what am I going to do now? Sort of swiftly followed with, well, what am I going to do now? I can do anything. For the first time in my life, I can choose. I can't really fail. So I'd love to sit here and say that the empathy coach was born from bravery and resilience and all that kind of stuff. And no, I was pushed into it, but I'm so glad that I was. And there's that sort of voice in my head that says, why didn't I do this years ago? Because actually it was truly the best thing to sort of take that time to sit down and think about, just really reflect on your life and take stock of everything you've learned, everything you've done, sort of professionally, personally, and go, right, I can choose now of all of this stuff. What's the stuff that I really feel passionate about and that I feel the world needs? I call it, I'm sure some people might be familiar with it, the ikigai, which is that sort of correlation of what you can do, what you love to do, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. And when I sat down and did that exercise in this terrified moment of everything is closing, that's what I came up with. It was like, do you know what? I'm on a mission to prove the relevance of empathy to every aspect of the human experience, whether that be leaders and direct reports, businesses and customers, partners and spouses, parents and children. Actually, what I've learned over so many years in my career is that this is a key skill and a choice that we make to be empathic and to choose to use those skills that actually changes lives. It really does. And I realise that's a bold claim, and that's why I'm on my mission, Carole. And that's why it's great to come here and talk to people like you and obviously all your listeners to say this is the power of empathy, the huge power of empathy. And I make it tangible. You know, it's a concept for a lot of people, maybe quite a fluffy concept. There are real tangible ways, things that we can do to be more empathic, to demonstrate empathy, that are incredible connectors between us and other human beings. And very often we're unempathic without realizing it. Every time we hear somebody we care about say something to us that we disagree with, and we go, don't be silly. You know, when I sort of say to somebody early January, usually, oh, I feel so fat right now, you know, after I've had a bit too much turkey and a few too many mince pies, and friends and kind people say, oh, don't be ridiculous, you look fine. And it comes from a very well-intended place, but actually it completely and utterly invalidates my experience, because it's about how I feel right now. So now not only do I feel fat, I also feel stupid, so thanks for that.
But I know I've obviously been getting to know you and more about what you do. I think the two things that stick in my mind, it's that seeking to understand, and not go into that, well, how can we fix this straight away, that's really stuck with me and has been amazing and helped me.
I'm so proud.
Well, it has, and it's completely changed the way I look at lots of situations in life, and it's been amazing. That's why I was so keen for you to come on the show. Aww. And so telling the listeners, you know, what is the key to what you do in helping people?
Well, I think it is a big part of what it is what you've just said. It's it's having some key habits in your life that you practice and you master. One of those being absolutely seek first to understand. You see, a lot of what gets in the way of empathy is judgment. And there's a really important quote on my website that says, judgment is the single greatest cause of conflict in our world today, but empathy is the antidote, because they can't coexist. Empathy and judgment can't coexist. If you're judging somebody, particularly if you're snap judging somebody or prematurely judging somebody, you're not being empathic, because the very act of empathy is around seeking to understand, and with no other agenda than to find acceptance of what that person is going through. I'm not trying to change things. I'm not trying to fix things. But if I can connect with you in a way that I can have a meaningful impact on you, I've got to first understand what's going on for you. And a common myth about empathy is that it's feeling what other people feel. Well, actually, I can bust that myth right now, because if you're feeling what somebody else is feeling, actually, you're taking on their emotion, their pain or whatever, and you're making it about you. I let a lot of the people I work with off the hook. You don't have to feel what somebody else is feeling. You just have to understand it. You have to really get it. You have to get under the skin. And again, for no other reason than to accept it, not to try and change it. And, you know, somebody might feel very differently to the way you would feel in that situation, or the way you have felt in that situation. But it's not about you. It's about that person. And in trying to prematurely shift that person or tell that person that the way they're feeling or what they're going through is wrong, all that does is disconnect you. One of the most powerful things you can do is understand what's happening for that person, acknowledge it, offer it back, and then the subconscious message that sends to that other person is, you get it, you get me, you understand me. And now we've got a connection. Now I'm willing to listen to you. And that's where we can start to explore alternatives or different solutions or different situations. But empathy is that connector, really putting aside your own views, your own values, your own beliefs, your own stuff, and seeking to understand exactly what's going on for that other person, whether it be your partner or your child or someone who works for you or your customers. This is what I mean. It's so vast. The people I work with, it's a really wide array of people and audiences, which I love because I love the variety. But it's almost about whoever that relationship is. You can't possibly hope to influence them if you don't understand their position and their perspective. And that's why exactly what you said there. And I'm so proud hearing you say it, because it really is. It predicates everything. It predicates everything, that desire to understand, and for no other reason than to understand.
Fantastic. Well, as like I say, it stayed with me since we had those great conversations. So yes, Neil introduced me to an amazing author called Gabrielle Bernstein, and Neil's going to talk a little bit more about it now. Yeah,
well, so as you know, Carole, she changed my life. I was introduced to Gabby Bernstein by a couple of coach friends of mine about 6 years ago now, and it's interesting thinking about sort of the book I was introduced to was The Universe Has Your Back, which is the book that I introduced you to, as you know. And it's interesting thinking when these things come to you, they come to you at the right time. I think if that book had come to me any earlier than when it did, I'd have probably thrown it out the window. Yeah. So I think sometimes you've got to be in the space to receive some of that wisdom, and absolutely it came to me at the right time, and hence I've always sort of shared it with people and just said, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Let it come to you when it needs to. But it has been a big part of my sort of healing journey, sort of finding faith again after going through some horrific experiences in the past, and sometimes that's what we need. We're looking for something that we can cling on to that almost gives us some faith in humanity or faith in the world again, particularly if we've been through trauma. And there's more about trauma in my book, which I might talk about in a bit. But we obviously, you and I both love Gabby, and we both love The Universe Has Your Back. And you brought your cards in. Have I got time to pull one before news?
Definitely.
All right, okay.
So there's the book, and then there's some cards which have got motivational quotes on there,
yes.
and I tend to pick a couple every week, share them with the daughters, and we've really been enjoying them. And it's funny how sometimes one will drop on the floor and I'll pick it up and I'll go, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. So did we say we're going to pick this one's for you, this one?
Okay, I'll do myself first. All right,
then
I'm picking the card first. This is And if you might not be into spirituality or whatever, but it's whatever floats your boat. And again, we don't have judgment here, do we?
Not at all.
Right, so I'm going to pull a card for myself. And my card today is, okay. My capacity to tune into the energy of love gives me the words I need when I'm ready to speak up, the compassion I need when it's time to forgive, and the power I need when I am lost.
Fantastic.
Really interesting thinking about I'm coming on a radio show and I was looking for the words that I would need, and you know what, they're coming. So it's just funny. Obviously a lot of it's open to interpretation, but it's positive guidance, and if you can apply it to whatever situation that you're in, just gives you that bit of a prime of what you might need, so what you might need to hear at that particular time. So
definitely,
yes,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
we're going to play your tune, going to get you to introduce this tune, saying we're going to come to some questions after the community news as well.
Great.
So you were saying the reasons behind this tune.
So this is a song. It's a bit of a mindset hack. So music's incredibly powerful. I'm such a music lover, and one of the things that, if I'm about to go into any sort of difficult situation or something that requires a little bit more of me, it's having a bit of a song that primes you positively, and this is definitely one of the songs that does that for me. Okay, so this is The Man by The Killers.
Well, I can't believe we're coming up to 20-1 already. I said to Neil, this time whizzes by. So, if you just tuned in, it's Carole in the Community, and I've got the amazing Neil Lewis, who is the empathy coach, with me today. And we've been having a great chat, and he's been introducing what he does. And we've been sharing some cards that we both use by an author that he introduced me to. And I've just picked mine. Well, which one was mine?
Well, so correct. So I just ran round, didn't I, and let you cut the deck, because obviously we're sat quite far apart. And Carole cut the deck, and my jaw hit the floor because she cut the deck and got exactly the same card as me.
We're so in tune.
It's the weirdest thing. But and you say in tune, so my capacity to tune into the energy of love gives me the words I need, the compassion I need, and the power I need. And it's great. And some people get a little bit, I don't know, lost in that language, the capacity to tune into the energy of love. Gabrielle Bernstein talks about love as being the antidote to fear. So whether you want to call it fearlessness, or whether you want to call it faith, or whether you just want to call it positivity, that actually if you're tuning into the positivity and the abundance and everything there is to be grateful around you, and you trust in yourself, you trust in your voice, you trust in what you're doing, that's what this is talking about. When we take fear into any interaction, that's when we lose the words. That's when we feel like we lose our power. Standing in our power and taking faith and taking that real sense of positivity into any interaction is what helps us find the words. And there are hacks like that song we just played. If you need to get yourself into a good headspace, you can. Some people do the power pose where you stand in front of the mirror like Superman or Wonder Woman. Some people have a little song that primes them, but it's all around choosing to put your mind into that state. We always have the choice to do that. We can take fear in, or we can take love, faith, fearlessness, whatever you want to call it, into any situation. But I can guarantee you that we'll always perform better if we take the love, the faith, the fearlessness in with us, and not the fear.
And what I've found with the techniques that you've given me, and we've talked about at length, is that putting this positivity out, it's coming back to me, in lots of different ways that I never expected.
You're a super attractor, Carole.
I never thought I'd be doing a radio show. I just used to like coming in as a guest and talking about my role at Mid Cheshire Hospitals charity, but now I've got my own show. So
absolutely.
If you'd have said that 12 months ago, I would say you're having a laugh, aren't you?
I know.
But tell us about your book.
The book. Well, so Carole is one of only 2 people so far that have read the manuscript of my book. So in talks with publishers at the moment. But the book, yes. So the book is called Ready to Rise, The Resilience and the Readiness to Change Your Life. And it's been a bit of a labour of love for me in terms of writing this book. And some of the stuff we've already talked about today in terms of choosing the right mindset, facing into difficult situations, but making the choice to face into those situations from a space of resilience and positivity. That's what the book is about. And if I could summarise it, I would say, there are so many gurus out there that can help you transform your business or transform your body. My brother's a personal trainer. I know that he can do incredible things when it comes to helping people transform their bodies and their levels of fitness. And I know some great business gurus out there that can quadruple your income and everything like that. And that's great. What if you're the type of person that doesn't believe that's possible for you? You believe it's possible, just not for you. And I spent a very long time of my adult and my adolescent life really being in that space that actually I believe all these things are possible, just not for me. Either I'm not capable enough, or I'm not intelligent enough, or I'm not brave enough, or I'm not attractive enough, all these things, all these limiting beliefs. And actually, I think if what if you're the type of person that's looking at all these gurus out there that say they can transform your life, and you're thinking, well, I believe that you can, but not for me. That's not possible for me. And that's where the concept of Ready to Rise comes from, because it's about tapping into the huge reservoirs of resilience and strength that we already have. I have not met a single person in my life that hasn't experienced some kind of trauma, and yet they're still here. They're still standing. But the problem is, we don't like recalling trauma. In fact, if anything, we want to never think about it again. But what we do is we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We throw out the fact that we overcame that trauma. We survived that trauma. And there was huge amounts of strength and resilience to be gained from reflecting on how we came through that situation. We forget about that as well when we stop thinking about the trauma, or we just want to forget that awful thing that happened to us. So it is about tuning back into, what are the things that I have not been a victim of, but the things that I have survived, and reframing all that in your mind. And you've read the book, so you know that that's the journey that it takes the reader on. It's about reminding yourself of all the incredible sort of reservoirs of strength you already have, and preparing yourself to take that next step, whether it be work with an incredible business coach, work with a personal trainer, write your own book. I mean, I didn't know that I was ready to rise until I was ready to rise, until I was actually in that situation where I was faced into a few months without any work, and it could have been a really scary time, but actually I used the principles in the book to help me manage that gap in workload and that what could have been a really fearful time, and channeled it positively and wrote a book. So it's almost like I didn't know I was ready to write Ready to Rise until I was ready to write it.
And I see it very much, not giving anything away, I see it very much as a toolkit to help you progress and look at things in a different way. Mm-hmm. I always talk about self-talk Sybil that's in the back of my head going, of course you can't do that, Carole. What, you're having a laugh, aren't you? I have to say, Sybil, I know what I'm doing, leave me to it, and the tools that are in that book are amazing. As fundraisers, I'll be giving every fundraiser I know a copy, because it's giving you that tools and that positivity and those things that make you think, of course I can do it. Yes, it's a little bit scary, but someone said to me the other day, that's where out your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens.
And I can guarantee, Carole, that you've been through worse. Everybody's been through worse. They've just forgotten that they've been through worse, and that's the point. It's like, let's just remind ourselves of how strong and brave and resilient we already are, just to have got to whatever point we're at in our lives right now, and still be here and still be standing and still be ploughing on and wanting better for ourselves. We've already got the stuff that we need. We've just forgotten about it. So let's tune back in.
Well, as usual, the time is flying by. But it's lovely that it's the first time I've had a guest. We've had some questions coming in. So I had this lovely question from Georgia. And she's said, how would you deal with someone who isn't very empathetic and doesn't exactly see things in the way that you are looking at things? Very interesting. Good question, that.
It's a great question. And a challenge that often have to work through. I'm conscious of time, so I might be quite direct here, Georgia, so I apologise if this comes across a little bit like that, but it's always remembering what you are in control of. And actually, we spend a lot of time worrying about what's on the other side of the road and not worrying about what's on our own side of the road, and tending to our own garden and everything like that. And when we're constantly looking to others to either satisfy us or behave a certain way, our expectations are totally in the hands of somebody else. That's giving away a lot of power to somebody else, really. And we do it all the time. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. We all do it, where we have those expectations of people. And it's a real kind of revelation to say, it's not other people that let you down. It's your expectations of other people that let you down. And actually, the only thing that you are fully ever in control of is your side of the road, your attitude, your mindset. And this is where it comes down to, what can you control? What can you affect? And I always say, you can't win them all. There'll always be some people who are really difficult to reach. But behaviour breeds behaviour. And you can either let that person's behaviour breed a behaviour in you and make you not very empathic, not very understanding, frustrated, angry, all those unhelpful negative emotions, or you can stand firm in your own power and say, do you know what, my ability to be empathic and my ability to seek to understand and my ability to stay in a curious space and to stay in a good, healthy, positive space is my decision, and I'm not going to let your behaviour breed a different behaviour in me. And what I'm also going to do there is if I stand firm in my behaviour, it's more likely to breed a different behaviour in them. So I would say if somebody is not being very empathic or somebody is struggling to demonstrate empathy, give them more. Breed a behaviour in them. You be the change that you want to see. Don't let anybody else take away your power and your ability to choose to be empathic. And remember that you can't win them all, and don't let somebody else's behaviour be an indicator that there's something wrong with you. That's their stuff. That's their side of the road. You look after your side of the road.
Fantastic. Lovely. Yeah, as I say, it's and I can't wait for the book to come out because it's got such a great toolkit in there, all these tips. And when roughly do you think we might be expecting the book out then, Neil? I'm
really hoping it's going to be out by the end of the year. I think that's my maybe before. I'm thinking September time. So there's a few other bits and pieces to do, a bit of marketing, a bit of publishing and stuff to do. So yeah, but that's my I was hoping to get it out earlier, but few universal messages told me to just hang fire a bit. Ooh. So I'm hanging fire a bit, but my aim is probably around about September time, if not definitely by the end of the year. And I really can't wait to just get it out there. And you know, if one person picks it up and it changes one little thing that they do, then that's good enough for me.
Well, believe me, everybody I know will be getting a copy for Christmas. So
Thank
definitely.
You.
So yeah, we're going to close with Heather Small and Proud. But how do people get in contact with you, Neil, to find out more about your amazing work?
Well, probably unsurprisingly, I'm on all the socials. So if you search The Empathy Coach, if you Google The Empathy Coach, I will come up top. A client recently said to me, "You must be well paid up with Google." I'm not. There's just me. So that's why I come up at the top. But if you search Empathy Coaching or The Empathy Coach on Google, you will find me. Obviously, The Empathy Coach on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. Or connect with me personally, Neil Lewis. I do a lot of sharing of my personal pages, and always like to sort of increase the network and expand the connections. One thing I will say is you'll never get the hard sell from me. I work with people who if it feels right energetically, and if people sort of come my way, that's who I work with. And I'm very blessed to trust the universe to bring to me the people that I need to work with and that want to work with me. But join the community. I'm always sharing great stuff, insightful stuff. You don't have to come and work with me personally to benefit from loads of stuff that I share on socials. I'd really like to see you all there in the community.
Fantastic. And I know that's how we had our initial conversation. There's a link where you can book and have a
discovery call.
The discovery call, that's it. And that's how we first met. And look where we are now. You're on my radio show. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.